I think it's going to be really bad. My whole street's probably going to be extremely flooded.
If you wait until you realize how serious this condition is, you likely will find that it's too late for you to be able to evacuate.
We don't know at all what's going to happen, what's going to be there, if anything's going to be left.
We begin here at 10 o'clock on KXAN with a look at this satellite image of Hurricane Harvey.
That is the eye of the storm from NOAA's most advanced satellite.
This storm has strengthened very quickly today.
In fact, the president has now granted a federal major disaster declaration at the request of the state. Jim.
This went from Category 1 to Category 4, the 4 right before landfall. Before we go to the maps, let me give you a couple of reports that I've just gotten in. We have team coverage tonight.
That's right. Across the state, reporters following the storm as it hits the coast. We are keeping tabs on the Emergency Operations Center in Austin and preparing for a potential flood threat here in our eastern counties. Jim.
Okay, Shannon, thank you. Back to that satellite, that incredible satellite view from the most advanced weather satellite camera ever put in space. This is it. It is absolutely mind-boggling. The way this storm intensified today and then what it is doing tonight. The eye, that's Port Aransas, that's San Jose Island, that's Matagorda Island. The eye of the storm is over San Jose Island. It looks like it's trying to move a little bit to the northeast of Rockport. Is that a brand new update? Thank you. No new advisory, no landfall yet. What do we have on movement? Give me the public advisory. What's a movement?
6 knots, so about 8 miles per hour.
Okay, so it's still moving at 8. All right, we're getting a live update right now from the National Hurricane Center. They always put these things out at 15 till, but not tonight. They're a little bit busy there, I guess. I want to give you this information. These are storm reports. 110-mile-per-hour winds, Port Aransas. 125-mile-per-hour winds, Port Aransas. Rockport, Texas. Numerous structures destroyed. Debris filling the air. Peak wind gusts estimated 125 miles per hour. Got it? Buildings collapsed. Rockport, Texas, with people trapped inside. Squad car windows broken. Rockport, Texas. Southeast Corpus Christi, multiple trees down. All right, I just got that off the wire. That is new information regarding what is going on right now with Hurricane Harvey. Category 4 Hurricane Harvey is not officially made landfall yet, according to the National Hurricane Center. It looks like the eye is on the barrier island to us. We've got 130-mile-per-hour winds, 160. Okay, this is a new update right here. They did not increase the wind, but it looks like it is going to go in the history books as the first Category 4 hurricane to hit the Texas coast since Carla 1961 with 130-mile-per-hour winds. That's a low-end Category 4. The forecast cone, landfall, San Jose, it's made it. All right, we do have official landfall now. Official landfall has taken place on San Jose Island, due east of Rockport. Hurricane Harvey has made landfall on the Texas coast just east of Rockport. All right, we've got that out of the way now. The storm is ashore. It's down to a Category 2 tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. That's near Cuero. It brings it up here to not too far from Cuero, west of Victoria, is a Category 1 tomorrow night at 7 p.m. We're watching this live together. This is the first time I've seen this new cone from the National Hurricane Center. Let's see what happens. Spins around, spins around, spins around, drops back to the south, comes right back to Corpus Christi and Rockport. Amazing. Sunday, 7 a.m., kind of in line with what's been talked about, but this is the brand new cone, just updated. Cone of uncertainty for those of you that may be tuned in late. We don't know. In other words, this could be a tropical storm at this stage, Saturday, 7 p.m., anywhere in the cone. Look where that cone comes up to. You know, we've had a model all along that wants to bring this circulation all the way up here into the KXAN viewing area. We're not buying it, though, because we have so many spaghetti models that just are a mess right here in this area. They all keep it right here. And so they're onto something. Well, a big blocking ridge is what they're onto off to the west. It's stopping this thing. And then it comes out over the water. Look at that. It's still a category, or it's still a tropical storm. It strengthens. This is new. It comes back over the water. It strengthens back to a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Man, now that I don't like. That's veering up toward Columbus, Fayette County right there. Let's go forward. That's it. That's the last. When was that? Why didn't I get 120 hours out of that? We'll check that out in a minute. All right, watches, warnings. Let's go back to that. Tropical storm warnings for our southeast counties. We've been talking about this since 9 o'clock. I think you're very familiar with what we have here. Current radar, this is what's going on with the outer rain bands already reaching our central Texas area. Coming up, we will talk more about the specific impacts here through the weekend and into next week. This is the most important thing we can tell you about. Meteorologist David Yeomans and reporter Wes Rappaport have been live in Rockport tonight at Ground Zero for this hurricane landfall. It was a little too dangerous for them to be live with us in the last hour, but David did have this report for us just a few minutes before they had to seek shelter.
Hey, meteorologist David Yeomans here in Rockport, Texas. We've relocated from the Emergency Operations Center to a hotel, the only hotel that's open, and it's actually thankfully rated to a Category 5 hurricane. This being a 4, we should be okay here. Now we're here with a handful of other folks who have stuck around town and needed a place to stay. The power is flashing in and out. We've heard they have 3 different backups that have all come and gone for this large hotel. You can see behind me, it is a slow-motion disaster playing out. I say slow motion because it's not a tornado that comes and goes. It's not a flash flood that comes and goes. This is hours and hours of hurricane-force winds. Look at the power flashing. And this time it might not be coming back on. We're in the worst of the eye wall right now. When you're out there, we have not been, by the way, there are large pieces of flying debris. There's a real, I hope you can hear that, there's a real sense of terror just being outside. We've seen pieces of sheet metal 20 by 20 feet wide. You might even see some debris flying by here. And the thing about this storm is that it's so slow moving. The worst part doesn't just come and go. It's been sitting here for quite some time. We'll be reporting here all night in Rockport rather. David Yeomans, KXAN News.
We are beginning to take the brunt of Hurricane Harvey, a dangerous Category 4 hurricane, the first one to make landfall in Texas since 1961. Those beaches in Aransas County already seeing wind gusts over 100 miles an hour. We're north and east of there in Port Lavaca. We're about 25 miles inland from the Gulf, but that's not protecting us from these winds, which have already gusted over 60 miles an hour. We've also had over 3.5, almost 4 inches of rain so far. We're in the early stages of this storm. It's going to slow down and almost stop for the next couple of days, and that's going to mean rainfall totals by the middle of next week that could top 2, maybe even 3 feet across a wide area of Texas, even inland areas like San Antonio, Austin, Houston. Look out for some very heavy rain, even though you won't get the kind of wind we're having here in Port Lavaca. It's going to be a long night, and Saturday, as the storm slows down, it'll be interesting to see how long the water stays up along these coastal communities. Already getting structural damage in Port Aransas, a very beautiful beach community. Meanwhile, we watch and wait as Harvey moves on shore, slows down, and ravages a good part of the area of Texas from San Antonio to the coast with heavy rainfalls and winds right into the first of the week. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel, Port Lavaca, Texas.
In the midst of Hurricane Harvey, researchers and scientists are putting new technology to the test that will predict flooding before it happens down to the street. We first told you about this last May. It was developed in North Austin at UT's J.J. Pickle Research Campus. Those behind it say it is not ready to go just yet, but they have made significant progress. The goal is to take what happens over the next several days and compare it to what their models predict will happen.
Does it work as advertised? If some of that data is not correct, you're going to have a very wrong outcome as far as what that prediction would look like.
And of course, KXAN will be checking back in after the threat is over to see how this technology performed.
Check this out. This photograph sent in to reported at KXAN.com showing the Texas National Guard staging in a parking lot in San Marcos. Ahead of the storm, Governor Greg Abbott activated 700 members of the National Guard to be at the ready.
The #1 priority in these weather situations is public safety, but at what cost?
KXAN's Kylie McGivern is at the Emergency Operations Center in Austin, where it is all hands on deck.
Shannon, inside this room, you have just about every city department represented, keeping an eye on this storm. We asked city leaders what impact this may have on taxpayers.
So we have a duty to the people who live in our community to do our best to keep them safe.
Jake Durr with the Austin Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management says if there is a disaster declaration, FEMA can release what's called public assistance.
That allows the federal government to reimburse local governments for a portion of their costs.
That said, reimbursement may not come until months or or even years after a disaster hits.
As you're aware, budgets are quite tight around the city at this time, and so the expenses are not front of mind because we are trying to make sure that we're doing our best to protect the public and coordinating our response.
City departments say they track time specifically related to disasters.
Anything that we can do to get reimbursed for those costs, working with the federal government, if that disaster declaration is made, makes everybody better in terms of how they can continue to serve their community.
The city says it always sizes up first, meaning it gets crews ready to go and then scales back as needed, rather than go bare minimum and call in staff after the fact.
You don't want to risk someone's life or their livelihood just because you're trying to pinch pennies.
The city will also be eligible for reimbursement from the state for providing shelter to coastal evacuees. From the Emergency Operations Center, Kylie McGivern, KXAN News.
And that reimbursement Kylie just talked about will be welcome. KXAN investigators showed you earlier this week a city audit found AFD did not implement adequate cost-saving measures. The audit found hundreds of firefighters using large chunks of sick leave on the weekends, forcing last-minute fill-ins at overtime costs. And we have that full investigation on KXAN.com. Also on our website right now, check out the list of shelters that are open in Central Texas. Right now, 2 shelters open in the Austin city limits alone. The KXAN weather app will keep you updated as watches or warnings begin or end, and you can even see what is going on your street with our interactive radar. People who live in Fayette County can go to a shelter tonight at the Second Baptist Church in LaGrange if they need to, but a lot of people in that area don't expect real problems to arise until at least later tomorrow.
Meanwhile, first responders are getting themselves and their equipment ready for expected water rescues. KXAN's Chris Davis live in LaGrange with more on how people there are responding to this flood threat. Chris?
Well, Robert Shannon, the LaGrange Fire Department is getting themselves ready to respond really anywhere in the county that they are needed. They'll use this massive high water truck here just around town if there's any flooding. And this is just a privately owned truck. Someone who lives here in LaGrange offered to drive it around for the department if they needed it. And then there are the boats that the fire department will use. 3 of them here, gassed up, ready to go tonight. A 4th one on the way for tomorrow morning. Now, some places are relying on sandbags to repel the water, like the subway here in LaGrange. Others are packing up and are prepared to leave. Now, some people who live near the river apparently were advised to evacuate by a constable, but we haven't seen a lot of worry from people either who live by the river or really anywhere here in town, even as this rain has really started hammering LaGrange.
Everybody's pretty comfortable with their community. They have a lot of faith in their community, and they're going to take it easy and just let us take care of business. So.
This truck, by the way, weighs about 9 tons. The owner, Matt Taylor, says he's driven it through 3 feet of water, no problem. Guys, back to you.
Fulton, Goose Island, Ingleside, Port A, Aransas Pass, Corpus Christi, and of course Rockport, all being seriously damaged right now. In some places, there is reported devastation as Category 4 Hurricane Harvey has just made landfall. The worst is still to come. The forecast is coming up.
Football season is nearly here, and locals are not letting a hurricane get in the way of their favorite field in downtown Austin.
KXAN education reporter Aaron Cargile is at House Park with a look at what they've done there.
Sandbags, these things go all the way up to my waist. This line extends around the corner down behind the bleachers along Lamar to protect this place from Shoal Creek. You might recall this stadium looked like a swimming pool after Memorial Day 2015.
Good job, buddy. Keep going, keep going.
You could call this the pre-game warm-up.
Started with just 4 people, so I say this is good progress.
They're football muscles to do the heavy lifting.
Even parents pitching in to prepare for the unknown.
Better not be any floods here.
An opponent already took out their home turf once.
It was in May last time, and it's already August, so if it happened now, that would be not good.
These competitors on the field.
We got Bowie, we got Austin High.
Now working toward the same goal.
This field, my grandfather played on this field. I mean, it just means so much to all of us here in Austin.
Robert Abernathy is the captain at Anderson.
It's really an icon. It's a symbol. We've grown up playing here, and so we're going to do everything that we can to protect it.
I love it. I think that's what sports is all about. It's teamwork. It's not just your quarterback or just your receiver or the people that get the glory. It's the full team.
Everybody say Austin!
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Woo, go!
And those teenagers know that protecting schools is the top priority. That's why they came out here to volunteer today so AISD employees could focus on buildings. I'm told more volunteers will be here tomorrow morning bright and early at 6 a.m. to make this wall even bigger. Back to you.
All right, Aaron, thank you. Now that Hurricane Harvey is making landfall as a Category 4 storm, a lot of people are bracing for the worst.
KXAN reporter Wes Rappaport and meteorologist David Yeomans are in Rockport, and they're telling us what's going on right now, gentlemen.
Hi there. Well, we are here in Rockport still. We are still at the hotel, but we'll just be quite honest with you. They're trying to figure out how to get us out of here. There are lots of folks who are worried now that this may not be the best option. We are going to evaluate that as well, but talk to us about now the fact that we are in the eye of the storm, right? So how does that change things here for us?
Well, that's what's going on. The owner of the hotel has apparently changed his mind. There's some families with babies. There's some elderly folks. And he's saying that maybe while we have the chance during this big eye that's moving slowly, might have a couple hours of time. You know, the AC here is broken. The conditions are not perfect. We have some minor flooding. He's saying maybe we should evacuate the whole hotel and go to that elementary school temporary shelter. This literally just happened 30 seconds ago, so we have to weigh our options and decide. But meteorologically, this is a window when people try to do things. This is not really recommended because the eye can be a little unpredictable. Even just a moment ago, we were, Wes, trying to bring the whole crew outside to show you the calm hurricane eye. We were unable to do so because it was calm for a couple of moments. Then we're still on that outer edge of the eye wall, and another little piece of energy kind of hit us again. You were with us a second ago. It's rainy and windy again outside, but it'll be calm for a couple hours here. We're just not quite there yet. And people are trying to do things in the hurricane eye, which is not a great idea.
Or at least calmer to a certain degree. I mean, I guess everything's relative when you're talking about winds that are like 120, 130, 150 miles per hour. Sure. Something like 60 or 70 or 80 miles per hour maybe feels a little less, but it's still pretty powerful, right?
And honestly, when we're in the middle of that eye, West, it should be 10 miles an hour. It should be a nice little night. But the hotel's starting to sustain damage. I was just in that back stairwell. I opened the door, not to the outside, but just from the hotel to the interior stairwell, and boom, a huge gust of wind got sucked out, which the owner is telling me means that either part of the roof is missing or windows in the stairwell or on the second floor or floors above have been blown out. So nobody's been upstairs, nobody really knows the extent of it. But as the hurricane eye rolls in, people are kind of weighing their options.
And this is one of those situations that, you know, we kind of talk about, but until you actually are in it, you don't realize maybe the seriousness of the situation. You know, you think to yourself, well, folks should stay put. If you're going to stay put, you might as well stay exactly where you are. But then there's that kind of one side to it where you say, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe there is this short window of opportunity. Yeah. We're not sure how big that window is, but are we willing to chance trying to get in a car? I mean, we have seen people out and about driving on the street through the window here. Yeah. And so that's something that you probably wouldn't see me doing, but folks are considering those options. So,
and now that you're talking it out, yeah, I mean, this literally again just happened seconds before we hit the air. I don't think it's probably a good idea to go about because we have debris in the roadways. We have power lines down. There are a million reasons not to drive somewhere right now, and especially when an eye is unpredictable. Just like we were trying to go outside to show people the calm, and then it hit again. We can't guarantee 2 hours of calm, even though that might happen for some.
We understand there's a question from you guys. What would you guys like to know from us out here?
Well, you guys, we've been worried about you because Jim reported earlier that the National Weather Service was saying that there had been buildings collapse in Rockport and that people were trapped. Have you heard anything about that?
National Weather Service is saying buildings collapsed in Rockport and any people getting trapped. We have not heard, I have not heard of anybody getting trapped in any collapsed buildings at this point. I don't know what
Nor have I, and I apologize for not having my earpiece in. I don't have the equipment. I have not heard anything of that. I was just live on Facebook, and a lot of people were asking me something about the high school being damaged or worse. I don't personally know. We're kind of cut off from the world in here, so folks in the newsroom might have a better idea than we do at this point.
Yeah, we were trying to look into, we were at the shelter earlier, that elementary school that's being used as a shelter, and they were preparing for this scenario. They wanted to make sure that the concrete was, that building is, I guess, 3 years old, concrete building, it's safe, and that's why that location is being used to house people here tonight. This hotel rated for a Category 5 hurricane, but obviously this situation is proving to be a tough one for this structure, right?
Yeah, it doesn't mean it won't get damaged, I guess. It hasn't collapsed to its credit, but can't guarantee that it won't get damaged. We just stepped out into the parking lot too, Wes, for a second during that calm of the eye, careful with power lines and puddles and things like that, just to look. There are huge trees down in the parking lot. I can't imagine what the roads, what the bridges, what the neighborhoods are like, where there's even more dense stuff to fall, to be broken, than what we're seeing here in the parking lot.
And the worst is yet to come. Let's give you just a quick look outside if we can.
Yeah, look at that. I got calm again.
It's calm right now. There are people walking outside. We've got the water has kind of subsided here a little bit. It was bubbling there earlier, and now you could essentially, we'll watch David as he just walks straight out the front door. Yes, there's a little bit of water there, but that's what we're looking at. So there are lots of decisions to be made here, and this is one of those things that can kind of prove costly that we've seen. Is you got to make that decision. Are we okay to go? Is this the right opportunity to go, or are we going to stay? So we are going to have that discussion between ourselves here, and we will, of course, keep you all up to date on what happens here in Rockport. But reporting live here on the Coastal Bend, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
I think you should use your best judgment. From what I'm hearing, though, I think I'd stay right there. Gentlemen, Wes Rappaport and David Yeomans in Rockport. Thanks. Jim?
Okay, we're tracking Harvey. Let me second that, fellas. David, you mentioned it yourself. The fact that there may be downed power lines and debris in the road, I think makes this a no-brainer. You guys stay right there, and I'm glad Wes added that at the end so you folks watching at home didn't think that they willy-nilly put themselves in harm's way in a motel in Rockport, Texas. They were told by the motel ownership there that this was rated for a Category 5 hurricane. We looked at storm surge maps, inundation maps, and we determined this would be a safe place for them to be. And so far, it's proven to be. However, you guys don't leave there. That is not, and tell the families that are there with small children, you're going to have to sweat it out without an air conditioner, but I don't think it's safe to get out there. And I know you're kind of in the eye right now, but you're kind of in the eye. This is why you still saw wind behind David outside the front door. Rockport, where they are, is right here, underneath the sea in Rockport. They're on the edge of the eye. This thing is slowing down. There is no doubt about it. This is terrible, terrible news for this area of our Texas coast. Terrible news. This thing is slowing down. In fact, it looks like it may have dropped from 8 miles per hour to 2 miles per hour, in my opinion. But they're not completely in the eye. If they were in the eye, it'd be dead calm out there. They're on the edge of it. Amazing, incredible, incredible stuff tonight. Category 4, let's look at the cone again. I want to get you to some more local impacts. It becomes a 2, it becomes a 1, and then nobody knows. Nobody knows what this is going to do, but odds are it's going to hang out right there somewhere for a few days. Austin does get in the cone. Could be a tropical storm again. Anything could happen at this point. I want to get you to some forecast data. We have flood warnings in effect already. Here come the outer bands of the hurricane. Only light rain so far in our viewing area. Not going to spend a lot of time on that. This is the overnight model, though. It brings more rain up into the area, obviously, toward morning. Not so much in the hill country. Our computer model, I'm going to take you one more here. Potential rainfall accumulation through the weekend. This model says 4 to 5 inches metro, 19 inches down in Flatonia, almost nothing in the hill country through Sunday night. This is very possible. If that thing stops down there on Corpus Christi, it's not going to be very wet up here in some areas. But this is also possible. If it keeps chugging up here, 15 inches metro, 30 inches down in Fayette County, not out of the question. This is not our forecast. I don't think it's going to be this terrible if that storm stops. If it keeps moving, we get a little closer to that, it could be. We could be looking at something like that. But I think that catastrophic rain is going to be in the Triangle, San Antonio, Houston, Corpus Christi. We'll come back and talk more about the models and the forecast. Right now, let's go live to NBC's Jay Gray in Port Victoria, Texas. Jay?
Hey, Jim, yeah, we are in Victoria, Texas right now, and we're starting to really feel this thing intensify. We're about 30 miles inland, and so we're just getting it to move into our area, so to speak. The rain is picking up dramatically, as is the wind at times here. And that's the issue. You've been talking about it, this stalling, this slowing down of the system. Victoria, according to the National Weather Service forecast, is going to see 30 inches of rain or more over the next couple of days here. Too much water, too fast for this area. A lot of people have already moved to higher ground. All of the shelters in Victoria are filled to capacity, but we've reached the point where local officials say, if you plan to get out of here, it's too late. You've got to hunker down. You've got to ride this thing out for now and wait till the other side. The other side's going to be a ways away. It's going to be a couple of days before things clear here. And with what we think is going to be a dramatic loss of power in this area, and then all of that water, it's going to be tough for crews to get in, start to repair things and clean things up until after that water starts to recede. So we could see something lingering here for the next couple of weeks for hundreds of thousands who live here and millions that are in the current zone here where they could see flooding. It's just going to be a rough go, as you've talked about, Jim, for a long time for a lot of people.
Jay Gray, thank you. Stay safe down there. Victoria might be one of the locations where that storm ends up if it comes due north. All right, we'll be watching it, Jay. Again, you and the crew stay safe. Let's come back here to the weather maps for a minute. National Weather Service rainfall projection. I showed you all the models, okay? They're everywhere. They're off the charts in some locations. They're not so much otherwise. This is the official National Weather Service projection here. 7 to 10 inches. Blanco, Dripping Springs, the city of Austin, East Williamson County, Milam County. 1 to 7 out in the hill country. That'd be a good thing if it works out that way. We don't have a terrible flood coming down the Colorado River and have to do floodgate operations out there. But this would not be good here. East of I-35, 10 to 20 inches possible. From Giddings, Bastrop, Lockhart eastward, 20-plus inches are possible. That could bring some very, very significant, dangerous, life-threatening flooding down here. But anywhere we see flash flood warnings this weekend, even if you only get 5 to 7 inches of rain, flash flood warning in and of itself means a life-threatening situation. Let's talk wind real quick. As that storm comes in, we have forecast wind gusts here by tomorrow evening to 62 miles per hour in Luling, near 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. These are not sustained winds like down around the hurricane, but a peak gust. 48 Metro, 56 San Marcos, some 35-mile-an-hour gusts. You're going to know there's a hurricane down there tomorrow as this wind starts picking up. Say again. All right, we've got the 30, 40 mile-per-hour gusts there Saturday, 10:30 p.m. Look at Luling there, 62 mile-per-hour wind. Sunday morning, we still have 35 to 45 mile-per-hour wind gusts. And then the storm begins to weaken. I'm telling you, as longer it's over land, the effects will become less and less and less, except in rainfall. Days after a landfall, we can see significant, catastrophic amounts of rainfall, and often occurring in the middle of the night. We call those core rains. We'll get into that, I'm sure, in the days to come, but there's a real interesting phenomenon that can produce just incredible rain in the middle of the night with these inland tropical cyclones. And again, we'll get more to that. 90% chance of rain. Why 90 and not 100? Well, it's feasible that western northern parts of the hill country might not get very much this weekend, while other counties in our viewing area get 15 to 30 inches. This is absolutely insane. It is the first Category 4 landfall in Texas since Carla in 1961.
61. Long time. All right, just a reminder, Texas State University will be not holding classes on Monday due to this storm. We will continue to monitor the situation all evening long here on KXAN and on our website, KXAN.com.
And certainly we will be with you throughout the duration of this storm. We know Jim will be watching it very closely, and all of our meteorologists. We appreciate you watching. Stay up to date here on KXAN and on KXAN.com and on social media, and get that KXAN weather app as soon as possible.